In this video, we are going to look at the concepts of static content, dynamic content, CGI, disadvantages of CGI, alternatives to CGI, and comparison between servlet and CGI. So let us start. What is static content and what is dynamic content? Whenever your website or your web pages are not going to change over a period of time, or you cannot modify them at runtime, then it is called as static. Now, disadvantage of static websites is that, once the website is developed, once the content is put, the maintenance cost is very high because you need to manually go and change the content of the website. The content cannot be dynamically generated, the content cannot be dynamically changed. So where can you apply or where can you use static websites or static web pages? So basically, when advanced facilities are not required, order tracking, verifying stock, availability of checking real-time availability of things is not necessary, then static content is easy to use. When you don't want your database to be connected to the backend systems, that is the database systems, then again the static content can be used. Or the list of inventory or the services that you are offering is very limited, your content is very limited. Your web content is not going to change on day-to-day basis, then in that case static website works. But majority of today's applications, they require dynamic website or dynamic web pages because we have to make changes to these contents and to these websites regularly on day-to-day basis rather on hourly basis. So even though static web pages are very simple in layout and very informative in content, they do not satisfy all our needs. Another thing that was a major disadvantage with static web pages is they are very difficult to maintain. Every time you want to change the content in the static web pages, you have to take help of a professional. But whereas for dynamic websites, you can have a backend database, you can have a format where the user himself or herself can add the product, can delete the product, can update the details. Every time the user or the administrator does not actually have to go to the website developer. So whenever we have online databases, e-business, online shopping sites, then banking applications, then in that case dynamic website is the need of today's time. So to have a dynamic website, what was the option? The option was CGI, that is Common Gateway Interface. Now, what is Common Gateway Interface? Common Gateway Interface provides you with a standard way for the web server to pass the user's request to the application program, and the application program will return back the data which is again forwarded to the user. So many times what happens, user sends a request, the server receives the request and server sends back the requested page. But when suppose a user is filling out a form, let's say registration form, the details are sent not to the server, the details are sent to the application program does the validation, and then the confirmation message goes back from application program to server and server to user. So when you have an application program and when back and forth you need to pass the data, then in that case Common Gateway Interface is necessary, and Common Gateway Interface is a part of your HTTP protocol. Okay, so Common Gateway Interface was basically something that was developed so that you could work with dynamic content. Now CGI programs, they are written in many languages like C, C++, VB script, Python, Perl, etc. But there are certain disadvantages of CGI. The disadvantages are that it is platform dependent. It is difficult for beginners to catch up with the things. Other than that, every time a new request comes, a separate process is created. So it is a process-based system as opposed to a thread-based system. So threads are lightweight to handle. Processes, they are heavyweight to handle. Then lack of scalability and reduced speed. again, it goes back to the same point that I explained you just now. Each time a request is received by the web server, an entirely new process is created. So as I told you, processes are heavyweight. So there is a limitation on how many processes you can handle simultaneously. So there are certain alternatives to CGI to overcome, which will overcome these disadvantages. Now, which of these alternatives is most used? The alternative that is most used is Java servlets. That is going to be our topic for next few videos. So basically, how does CGI work? The client sends the request, the server will receive the request. The CGI, the program that is written in Perl, C, C++, will be executed. The response will be given, and the response will go from the server to the client. Now, as I told you, there are certain alternatives to CGI. The alternatives can be active server pages, ASP. You are already studying this as a subject. PHP, you have already studied this in your first year. Then you have something that is called as Cold Fusion. So in Cold Fusion, basically what is done is, in HTML pages only additional tags are used, wherein you can call the Cold Fusion functions in that. Okay, a number of standard functions are available. The Cold Fusion was initially used for Windows, but now later on, Unix platform is also supported. Then the next one that we have is Java servlets that we are going to learn in this entire unit. Then you have fast CGI, which can maintain one or more instances of Perl that continuously runs along with the interface, which will allow you to allow dynamic request to be passed from the web server to these instances. Okay. So for every request, new process is not created in this case. Okay, and then the last one is Mod Perl. It is a module for Apache web server, which also avoids creating a separate instance of Perl for each CGI. Okay, so some disadvantages of CGI are overcome in all these alternatives. Right now, when I compare CGI and servlet, how do I compare it? Now, many times a twisted question is asked, how is servlet better than CGI? So, whatever comparison we have given below, exactly same answer you will be writing. But maybe instead of writing it in table format, you write it point by point. CGI is written in this, servlet are written in this. This is platform specific, servlets are platform independent, so it is better. Now, you format your answer that way, but the points that you will study, they remain the same. So basically, what is the difference between CGI and servlet? So CGI is nothing but, as I told you, it is Common Gateway Interface. CGI is written in C, C++, Perl, Visual Basic, whereas servlets are written in Java. Now CGI is platform specific, it is application specific, as well as it is not portable. Whereas servlets, because they are written in Java and Java is platform independent and portable, servlets are also having those as their advantages. Now, with respect to CGI, they are difficult to maintain, they are non-scalable and they are non-manageable. When I compare servlets with them, they are very powerful, they are reliable and they are efficient. Obviously more scalable than CGI. Now, with respect to CGI, when you are using different programming languages, whatever are the security issues of those programming languages, CGI is prone to it. Whereas for servlets, because it is written in Java, you have the built-in security of Java in servlets, and hence servlets are more secure as compared to CGI. Now, as I discussed this point earlier also, in CGI, every request is handled by a heavyweight OS process, whereas in servlets, it is handled by a lightweight thread. In case of CGI, data sharing is not possible. Here, data sharing is possible in servlets. CGI does not link the web server directly to the server, whereas with respect to servlet, you can have a direct link to the web server. Now, when it comes to reading HTTP servers, CGI cannot do it, whereas servlet can do it, as well as it can read as well as set the HTTP servers. When it comes to speed, CGI is slower, servlet is faster. Session tracking and caching of previous computations is not, it cannot be performed in CGI, whereas it is easily possible with respect to servlets. That's it for this video. Thank you.